I'm willing to say he's the basement coach of the year.
It's 2 games. They got to get something rolling.
That new intro is amazing. Shout out to Benji Kaufman, who Keegan knows from Dean College for getting us that intro. This is the Sports Saga podcast presented by Aldias Electric. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Like, share, subscribe, leave us your feedback wherever you're watching or listening. Brady Kudo, Keegan Hamlet sporting the Survivor t-shirt. I really like it. And our guest, the former Davey O'Brien Award winner, with arguably the best Twitter in the game, Michael Bishop. Michael, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Most importantly, how are you?
I'm doing good, and I'm glad to be on. And let's get into it. It should be a great show this morning.
All right, it should be. I agree. All right, so let's get right into it. Obviously, a former K-State Wildcat. I'm going to shout out D. Scott Fritchen for getting us linked up with you. So let's go back to college, right? Let's go back to K-State. You're obviously a JUCO transfer, started out at Blinn College. So how different or how hard I should say is the process of transferring from JUCO to a Power 5 school?
Well, I'll say it like this, and a lot of young athletes don't understand the process of coming from junior college to a D1 school, but it is tremendously tough because at the junior college level, there are so many great athletes that for some reason or another didn't qualify or didn't get recruited like they thought they should get recruited. And so, you have opportunity to go junior college level. Well, at the junior college level, there's competition at breakfast, there's competition at lunch, there's competition at dinner, and that's not even it's not even considered what goes on the practice field, because it is everybody there has a point to prove, and everybody there has a backstory. So it is tremendously tough because the athletes that go to junior college are athletes that could play D1 before they even go to JUCO. So there's competition at every position daily. And it is tremendously tough because, like I said, everybody has the chip on their shoulder because they feel like they was left out. So when I was at Blinn Junior College, when I first got there was 6 quarterbacks on the roster, and all 6 of us could play. And it's just a matter of who can outlast who, because you wake up in the morning and you got to get out of bed ready to battle. And a lot of kids, a lot of young athletes, it takes them a minute to warm up. It takes them a minute to, get used to the heat here in Texas. It takes them a minute to get loose. But you got to get up feeling like you're the best that day. And that's how tough it is, especially, with the linemen and running backs, with the banging that they go through, especially here in Texas at the JUCO level. I mean, I tell you, it'll make a man out of you. And if you can't take a lot of no's before you get a lot of yeses, then you're going to struggle if you go to the JUCO route. But if you can maintain and get things done and do the right things, then the sky's the limit. And, I'm the proof is in the pudding right here. I went through a whole lot to get to K-State, not because, not because I didn't have the talent, but because the talent that was around me. Like I say, I ended up winning the battle, but it was a tough battle, because those other guys could play. And when I say they could play, they could play.
Let's continue on that K-State track, right? You got out of the trenches, let's say. You've won that battle. Bill Snyder. What was his impact on your life?
Well, when you're getting, I go back to when you're getting recruited, everybody's going to tell you what you want to hear, because their job is to get the best athletes to the university, because their job is to win. With Coach Snyder, it was more than that, because the other schools that recruited me that came into Willis, Texas, and talking to my parents, they was talking about football, which we knew, we understood about football. But with Coach Snyder, he basically was in my home for 3 days, and he didn't talk about football until the 3rd day. Wow. So that was the difference between him and all the other schools that were recruiting, and when you're a young guy and the parents, hadn't ever been to Kansas in their life, and as a 5'6" guy comes in, at that time, Coach Snyder may have been weighing like maybe 155 or less. So he's just a small guy. So, you got a guy coming in and he's telling you, this could be the situation, that could be the situation. But everything is education before football. That sets them apart from other guys because, like I said, they was trying to win. They wanted me to bring my talents to their university and help them win. But for Coach Snyder, I mean, he's the type of guy, type of coach, type of father, type of mentor that I think everybody that played college football, even high school football, if they would have had a chance to be around him and understand the magnitude of what he brought to the table, because it was more than football. And a lot of coaches, they just football. But with Coach Snyder, it was more than football. And even in my high school career, it was just football. But when you get somebody that takes it, to another level and makes you understand that, hey, at some point you're not going to be able to play this game. So let's get you ready for the world. And I think that sets him apart from, a lot of other coaches across the nation.
You want to talk about Coach Snyder and how he helped prepare you maybe for post-college to the pro level, some in the NFL and then the CFL later on?
Yeah, I mean, we have this thing at K-State and they still do it, and it was the 16 rules. And but if you can learn those 16 rules and understand what those 16 rules meant, then you're gonna be fine in the world. And just a quick sample of it is one is never give up. And that can go, that can go from elementary to a doctorate degree. Never give up. And it's something simple as that sticks in your head, because every day right now, I can take those 16 rules and I can apply it to my daily basis, because those 16 rules are life. They're part of life. You got to take them with you. And I think for people that came through K-State and was in that locker room and still in that locker room to this day, those 16 rules are still up there. And, like I said, if you can take those, you can take those to understand the meaning of those rules, you can survive this world. And I think a lot of guys that came on the K-State and played, coaches and players, use those same rules to this day, whether it's at home with your family, or if you're still coaching, or if you're still hanging on trying to make a career out of football or life. Those 16 rules last forever, because I coach now in Texas at high school level, and every day I question the kids about 16 rules. Give them to me, let me know, tell me what they mean. And I think that by me putting those rules in their mind, when they go to the classroom, they walk through the hallways, they got to be on their P's and Q's, because at any point somebody can walk up and say, hey, give me rule number 7. And so it's all about holding them accountable and keeping them on track. And it all goes back to, what we did at K-State. Everybody got to do their part, do their job to make sure we're successful.
Where are you coaching? What school?
I am at Legacy School of Sports Sciences. So it's a charter school here in Texas. Oh, by the way, shout out to the team and the coaches. Last year was my first year being head coach, then we won the state championship.
Congratulations.
So, yes. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, it's right outside of I'm on the north side of Houston. So we're in a city called Spring, Texas. So a lot of great football played around us, and we were able to, one year match the intensity and come out on top.
Congratulations. That's awesome. First year, you're a state champion. Yes. Congratulations.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So let's go. I'm going to continue on this track. We're at K-State. You are arguably considered the pioneer of the dual threat quarterback. So let's modern it, right? You are a big part as to, why we see guys such as Jackson and Allen and Mahomes. So how has this evolution of the quarterback changed the game across all levels?
Well, I'll tell you, and it's funny that you asked that question, because I was just in a conversation last night with one of my buddies, and we were talking about that. Well, somebody put a post up, and they was talking about, that I don't get enough credit for the things that I've done, that I did at K-State and at the college level. So, and sometimes, I think about it, and I was like, hey, you know what? I want some respect put on my name, when it comes to that, because not only do I feel like I played a major part in the redirection of the mobile quarterback, but I did some great things not only for myself, but I did some great things for my teammates. A lot of guys hadn't been in a situation where there was a quarterback, that played like I played back then. So my determination, my motivation, all that, I think it transpired and transferred to my teammates, and they played like I played. Let's go out, let's win every game. Let's not think about tomorrow. Let's live right now. Let's go get this win, and that's why I play the game. But when you look at what's going on today in the college level and the NFL level, I sit back and I see some amazing plays. And at the same time, I've seen those amazing plays that I made myself. So I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I have had a tremendous impact on the college game and a tremendous impact on the guys that go to the next level, because we're doing the same things. They're doing the things that I was able to do, 20, 30 years ago. And it just wasn't, recognized as being great at that time, but I know what I brought to the table. So, I'm satisfied with it, because there's still times now where, somebody will send me a clip of a quarterback being compared to me. And for the younger generation, it was like, well, who is Mike Bishop? Who is that? And then when you go and Google, I had a kid on my team, a kid that just came to the school, and I was talking with his dad, and his dad was like, my son has no idea who you are. And he said, but I'm going to get him, caught up. So the next day the kid comes to school like, Coach, I got to tell you, a lot of people don't know what you brought to the table. And I was glad that him and his dad had a conversation, because now he understands what's going on and how I go about my daily life, especially with the quarterbacks. And he's a quarterback. The drills I put them through, the things that we do, now they get it, because it's always good to have a coach, in my opinion, that has been in a fire and has made it out the fire. And I feel like I'm that guy. I'm the perfect guy for those young men, young student athletes. And, not only can I talk about it, they can go back and they can look at it and see that not only did I talk about it, I brought it every day.
Now, in college, would you say that for you being a dual threat quarterback, was that a transition maybe from earlier in your career? Like, were you a pocket passer and then maybe the coach said, we're going to make you more of a dual threat? Like, sometimes we see that in the college game.
Well, I will say this for me, when I was in high school and even when I was at junior college, I didn't consider myself a runner. I always had a strong arm. I can make every throw on the field. And from junior college, high school to junior college, I always had, two good running backs. So, they carried the ball. I was able to maintain the game and complete the passes when we needed them. And, I probably ran the ball maybe 3 times a game in high school. But I knew I could run it. I knew I was tough. I knew I could take a hit. But when I got to K-State and got around Coach Snyder, even in practice, when something happened and the play didn't develop like it should, and I would take off with it and get, first down, and I run people, get out of bounds, and come back to the huddle, not knowing that, 2 days later, here comes speed option, here comes QB draw, and I think that he found a way to use every ounce of energy that I had or that I possessed. And at that time, being a young guy, you'd be like, okay, I get to carry the ball? Okay, let's go. Oh, okay, I got to run it again? Okay, let's go. And I developed a mentality where if I got to run it, I got to run hard. I got to run with attitude. I got to run with you can't stop me type of mentality. And I think I developed that real quick, because I know I had 10 other guys depending on me. So that was a major turning point for me, because I knew I could run it, but I didn't see myself running it like I did until, maybe week 2 or 3. And I was like, okay, so there's about 10 plays or 15 plays during the course of this game where they're going to depend on me to run the ball as well as throw it. So let me be the best I can be in this moment. Let me be the best I can be for the other 10 guys out here on the field with me. But most importantly, let me be the best for, everybody that's on the sideline and everybody that's in the stadium to watch the game. Let me give them the best version of Mike Bishop that I can give for this particular game.
We're going to transition from, we see the, You're giving it your all. Let's go to some guys that are trying to give it their all now for their families and their fans in the NFL draft. I'm going to start with a quarterback, at least that I saw this year, that screams Michael Bishop. His name's Malik Willis. Strong arm, really fast guy. Not the best quarterback in this draft, in my opinion. I think that goes to Kenny Pickett. That's been debated upon, but if you're going to give me who's going to get drafted first, who's going to have the best career, I'll go to Keegan first on this one. I say Kenny Pickett, just because number one, he played against tougher competition, so we see what he can do against. He played in a Power Five conference, right? He's got a great arm. He's elusive. He's mobile. He is smart. I think he's a smarter quarterback than Willis. Willis has a stronger arm, but we're seeing it now. You can get away without chucking a football 70 yards down the field. Keegan Hamlin, who's the best quarterback in the draft?
I'm gonna go Kenny Pickett, pretty much the same reason you said, stronger competition. That's why I was taking last year's draft. That's why I had Mac Jones over Zach Wilson, and so far I'm right about that.
Yeah.
Because I like stronger competition in college when you've had more chances to play against more five-star recruits who will most likely succeed in the pros. And we've seen talent in years past that just because you have it doesn't mean it's going to last forever, because defenses will read that, and the college to the pro game, it's completely different.
Let's go to somebody who's been through that process. Michael Bishop, who do you think is the best quarterback in this draft class?
Well, I'm gonna say it like this, and speaking from a player's perspective, you actually, I say you never know what's going to happen, because there's been plenty of opportunities or plenty of examples where teams are traded up to get to make an unexpected pick. Teams are willing to give up their whole draft to get a certain guy. But if you think about it, I think there's situations where teams and cities need a spark, and sometimes they don't take the smartest quarterback. Sometimes they take the athletic quarterback that's going to bring more fans or bring more light to the team. And I think, from an athlete standpoint, we all at some point find out that it's a business. So the business move is, do you take a guy who can keep the stands filled, or do you take a guy at some point that can be an all-pro? At this point in time, with the way things are going in the world and the league, I think it's more about, and it may seem crazy to hear this, but I think it's more about who can I take right now that's going to bring more recognition to my organization, and if you do that, then you take Malik. But if you want to sit back and you want to say, hey, you know what, this guy here is football IQ is through the roof. He's played some tough competition, this, that, and the third. You can add all kind of variables to it, and then you would take the pick guy. But at the end of the day, I think right now is, with the way things are going right now, a lot of owners are saying, what do you think about this guy? And if somebody says, hey, I just watched him throw a 70-yard, on the rope, and we don't have anybody's organization that can do that. And then all of a sudden, it's a quick decision, and you're on the board, and all of a sudden, Malik. And then, he's shocked that he's going first pick in the draft because he thought he was going to go third and fourth. If you compare the numbers and all that from college level, and so you see guys go in spots that they're unfamiliar with up until draft day. So, from the outside world, everybody has a pick, and it was like, well, he fits this organization. He fits that organization. And then at the last minute, we was like, I would have never guessed this team was going to draft him. But now the pieces they're putting around, it makes sense. So if you take a team just like, for instance, let's take the Browns, right? And with the whole thing with Baker Mayfield, and then who did they bring in? A quarterback this year?
Deshaun Watson.
So would Deshaun play, or do we draft a guy knowing that we got Deshaun with his guaranteed money? If he can't play this first year or two that we have him, then let's get a guy that plays his style. That way he can be a great mentor because he's played in the game already. So there's all kind of things that you look at that, like, some people don't. Some people would not even think about that situation, but that could happen. We got a guy that we've taken care of financially. Then let's bring this other guy in, because if he can't play because of all the things that's going on, we got a guy that can do some of the things that he can do, and now he can mentor him because he's been in the fire.
I think we see it every draft, right? There's going to be that one pick, like you just said, that's just going to be like,
Yeah, you're like, oh my God, what happened?
right?
Yes.
There's always that one. It's
Yeah.
and what I'm also looking forward to about this draft is that this is the first draft in quite a few years where there was not a consensus number one pick. Last year it was
Right.
Lawrence. I mean, in past, even I wouldn't say Mayfield was a consensus number one.
Mhm.
This is just a draft I'm looking forward to because it could be
It's going to be
Waller that goes
unpredictable.
one. It could be Hutchinson that goes one. Thibodeau.
Mhm.
I'm really, really looking forward to it. Do any of you have any last minute comments?
I'm just going to say one quick comment. You also, this goes for any position when you're drafting, you got to look at on and off the field actions, whether they remain
Yes.
calm and composed, whether they
Yes.
want to take advice from coaches or not, whether they've had legal troubles off the field, that always comes into play.
I got to agree with you on that part because the outside world really don't pay attention to that. But when you do your job and you find out every detail from kindergarten up until now, there's a lot of players that got baggage that the world don't know about. And then all of a sudden it comes up, and then the world's like, well, I would have never known. I didn't know they do that much research on these guys. But it's true. So you got to take all that into consideration.
Yep.
So for some of the fans that think that we're going to get this player, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, he had an assault back in high school. Oh, we don't want that type of guy in our organization. So people don't understand that until it actually comes out. And then, you have the same people like, hey man, that was in, that was 5 years ago. What are we doing? But it's a major impact on today's game as well.
Next week, it's our spring break. So that means we have loads of content coming in the future. Coach Snyder is expected to join us. Mike Cousins from ESPN is going to join us. We have Bolt Brady, the co-host of Bolt Brady and his Bro, a podcast dedicated to sports betting, is going to be joining us. Alex Beaudry, an NFL agent, is going to be joining us shortly. So stuff that we're all looking forward to. Again, if you haven't already, subscribe and follow to us on social media and on YouTube. Use our link tree in the description below. Shout out to Al Dias Electric. If you're in the southeastern Massachusetts and Rhode Island area, give him a call today. His phone number is also in the description below. For the great Michael Bishop and Keegan Hamlet, I'm Brady Kudo. Thanks for joining us and enjoy your day.